run through it, but can I have everyone's attention, please? Just to check everyone's good. So that means everyone's head should be up, looking at the boards. She knew as well. She was looking at me side of her eye. Good that you want to carry on if you understand, but let's just check because I don't think people are making mistakes, but it's worth checking. So, and I'm going to add some vocabulary to your sheet. So you're going to have to write. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to add some vocabulary. So we are looking at dividing fractions. So we have currently done multiplying fractions. We've done multiplying and simplifying after you've done the multiplication, and we've done how to simplify beforehand. Obviously, with all numbers, we can multiply, divide, add, and subtract. So today, we're just looking at division. It will only be a one lesson thing. Then we will, I'm not going to react. If you're silly enough to hurt yourself with a pencil, right, instead of paying attention. So we're going to adding and subtracting, which some of you are going to find harder. Division and multiplication are the easy bits. Okay, so to be able to divide another fraction by another fraction, and actually it does work with any number. Okay, I'll show you this in a bit. If any fractions are mixed fractions, convert them first. Same with multiplication, makes it easier. Swap the numerator and denominator of the dividend fraction. Do you know what that means? The dividend is the thing that you divide by. Okay? Now, this has got a more mathematical name. Are you on the front sheet ready to write this down?
Yep.
Okay. So what I want you to add here is this is the more mathematical way of saying swap, okay?
Wait.
No, we are going to write the reciprocal of the dividend. Okay, so it's not a massive issue if you can't remember that word now. Why are you not writing it? But I will expect as you get older, your maths teacher, whoever it is, will hopefully you'll be. There's a thing that's out there. If anyone looks up how to divide fractions online or something, is this the curse of moving people back? That you can't. Yeah? Pay attention, otherwise I'll have to move you back. So, what people say, and you might understand why, they remember dividing fractions as keep, change, flip. And it's not, it works, but it's not very mathematical. It doesn't help us really understand. And maybe you think, oh, keep, change, flip. But what we do is we write the reciprocal of the dividend, or we swap the numerator and denominator. What that means is, okay, that only works if the dividend is a fraction. Okay, so there's a new word for you. What's that word, Giovanni? Reciprocal. Good. Then we just multiply. So we don't actually ever have to do any division. We are just multiplying. And you all know how to do that. Okay? Optional, you may want to convert the fraction into its simplest form and convert that now at the end, or we know how to do it before we multiply. Okay, but we're not going to simplify the division, we'll simplify with the multiplication. So here's an example. 3/4 divided by 2/3. We keep this one the same, we change the sign, and we flip. That's why we say it. I don't like the word flip. It doesn't have any mathematical meaning. Right? So 3/2, 3 halves, is the reciprocal of 2/3. Okay? So can we just write that as well? This is the reciprocal. Okay? Now you're gone. Question? So, no, because basically writing the reciprocal allows you to change from a division to a multiplication. Once you've done that, we can then almost ignore that the division exists and we just do the multiplication because we will get the same answer. And I would try and explain that, why it does, but I might leave that a bit until we've practiced it a bit and we understand what division by fraction is doing.
You said that you can only like make it a reciprocal.
Oh no, I said we can always do a reciprocal. But what happens is people, if there isn't a fraction, how do you flip a number that's not a fraction? Yes. But what you did there was write a reciprocal rather than flip anything. Alright? So that's why you got that. So just to show you, have we got a bit of space to write another example? What Abby was just talking about? If we did 4 ninths divided by 6. Okay. So that one is now a division, it's not by a fraction. Now I know what some people would think to do. They would go, I look at the fraction and I flip the fraction. Is that correct? Raoul, comment.
Oh, well, no.
Go for it.
6.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. So it doesn't make sense to flip the first fraction because this is the thing you're dividing up. That can't change. Right? Basically, what we're saying is dividing this number, whatever it is, by 3/5. Well, what is division? Would you explain to someone, right? But that doesn't explain it if someone doesn't know what it means. So in a physical sense, if I had a cake in front of me, what would it mean, right? Yeah. Splitting it, yeah? Splitting it into equal amounts of whatever we're dividing by. So if I said to you 9/4, please sit down, Zoe. You don't need to do that at the moment. You're paying full attention, aren't you? If I say divide this number by 3/5, what am I asking for? Justin?
3, 2, 8, 9, 9, 1. Like moving its position.
No, that's what am I actually asking you to do with a division, not what am I asking you to write it like. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When I ask you to divide anything by 3/5, what am I asking for? Have it? So I'm asking for how many lots of 3/5 go into 9/4, or how many 3/5 I can take out of it, yeah? Split it into. Right? Does that make sense? So it doesn't make sense to swap the first fraction, ever. That's where we've got to be careful. Never ever swap or flip or do anything with the first fraction. That stays. Got it? Want to add that note to your worksheet, because that's not on it. Right? The answer to that question is yes, Mr. Potts, I am going to add that to the front of my worksheet. A little note on one of the fractions, never flip or whatever, swap the first fraction, only the one that I divide by. Yeah, and the reason is Because if we have one like this, what people do is they go, oh, I can only flip fractions, therefore I'll flip this first one. But that's not correct. And two of you have already told me what we do. What we do is we say it's the same as 6 over 1. And then we can write the reciprocal of 6 over 1 as 1 over 6, 1/6. And then I can multiply. Is there any simplifying I could do first, by the way? No?
By 6 and 9, you could do.
Ah, no, they're not top and bottom.
Oh,
I'll do that. Remember, it's tops and bottoms. Zoe?
um,
Yeah.
I know what. Maybe 4 and 6.
4 and 6 share a factor, don't they? We could divide by 2, so that would make it 2/9 times 1/3.
Yep.
Okay? And that becomes 2 times 1 over 9 times 3, which equals 2/27. To simplify it, that's what we were doing yesterday, yeah?
Right.
Now that's why I wanted to go through together with you, because the sheet doesn't ask you to do that, I'm asking you to do it. That's the difficulty. I try and find these worksheets online for you to do, but we need to add knowledge that we need on it. Zoe,
Why do you say 2?
because 4 divided by 2 is 2. But the 9 stays the 9. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So the 1 and the 9 stay as they were though. Yeah? Again, that's why I asked you to practice your multiplication and the cancellation and stuff is fine before we do the answer, because basically we turn all divisions into multiplications straight away. So you're now, here's an example. Sheets like before. You will notice, look, that the first fraction never changes. But the second fraction does. So what's the reciprocal of 1/2?
2.
2. 2 over 1. 2 divided by 1. Okay. So this is the, remember we've changed the operation. So if you like, we've kept the first one, we've changed the sign, and we've written the reciprocal of this dividend. So if I'm going to, by the way, you're going to get 2 assessments in this unit, and that's going to finish our year on. I'm planning, I think, to give a criterion A, and then I'm hoping to get another criterion B. Okay.
What does that mean?
Applying it to real life. I think fractions in real life might be quite a nice one to, how do you work something out? Maybe it's like a baking challenge.
Oh yeah, the other class did.
Did they? Okay, any further questions on this? No?
It's not fit.
I'll let you carry on then. You listening? Might want to know. A recipe for cookies requires 2/3 of a cup of sugar. Make that up. That's not enough sugar. But that's not important. So a recipe for cookies requires 2/3 of a cup of sugar. In the cupboard is a bag that has 7 1/3 cups in it. How many batches of cookies do I have enough sugar for? What do we do? We have a think about it and speak to the people on your table what you're planning to do. Are we all paying attention? This, by the way, Would this be considered criteria D question potentially? So real world scenario, we've got what maths we have to do, and then we've got to apply it properly to come up with our answer. Okay? And then we've got to determine whether our answer makes sense. Who thinks they know a mathematical operation that we can do? Some people are not paying attention. I'd like everyone's attention. So you can stop doing the worksheet, okay, pay attention to this. What do you think, Lisa?
First, you have to, right, you have to make it into a improper fraction.
Okay, so first off, we've got 7 1/3 cups. We're thinking we want to turn that into an improper. What's that?
22. 22 thirds.
So we've got 22 thirds instead of that one. Okay. Now what do we want to do? Right? So what did you do? What mathematical operations? Okay. But what mathematical operation have we been doing? Division. Your repeated subtraction route. Dancing's nice, but just not now. Okay, so what you did, Ryan, was your repeated subtraction. What you actually did, are you paying attention? And stop doing what you're doing. We can join after lunch as well. What we're doing then is we're actually figuring out how many lots of 2/3 can I take out of 22 thirds. So I'm doing a division, and we're going to divide by 2/3. Okay? Is everyone following this?
I think I know what you
How do I do that division then, Austin? Okay? Can I simplify it beforehand? Right? Are you with me? You're not paying attention to the board? So,
Yes, you can.
Jack, are you paying attention?
You can simplify.
Just pay attention, please. No, Zoe? I know you will.
You can do
We can do the threes. So that's divide by 3 gives me 1 and 1. So that's those done. But I can also, you're right, divide by 2 and divide by 2, and I get 11 and my answer is 11 batches.
I said
I could make 11 batches of cookies with the amount of sugar I've got, assuming I've got all the other ingredients. Okay, but that's
And then you end
so.
up.
Let me just say this: some of you are just so focused on the sheet for how do I divide. But what we have to do is we have to get into deciding when we need to divide. Okay, now before we get towards the end of the lesson, I just want to draw your attention to your homework that I've already put. Can you turn to the final sheet in the book? I think that's the final one. You hopefully will see that the final sheet, so hopefully you didn't, if you're already doing it, you didn't miss this. The final sheet is your homework for Tuesday next week, right? You will notice that it has multiplications and divisions. So don't do them all as division. Okay? That is your homework for Tuesday. We are not doing it now. Yeah. I am actually going to have you put everything away now, please.